just finished dropping my mum off at church, and which is up in North London in the UK, and Ponders End. I had to drop her off at Ponders End, and as I got up I went past through, I think it's Angel, Edmonton, keep going up. I can't remember the road. Anyway, as I came up to this particular road, I've been down quite a few times in the past. It's completely changed. There were zebra crossings, two zebra crossings on either side of the road. They are now like traffic lights, which I think is fantastic. It's a great thing. The roundabout that was there, that's cleared. It's gone now. And on one section, I think on the left and right, they're cycle lanes, and they're quite raised up brickwork. So, they can't come in, the cars and the bikes are not going to come in contact with each other so easily. One of the things I'm happy about as well, that they, put this traffic light system. When people today in the United Kingdom, certainly in London, do not know how to use zebra crossings. They don't know how to use zebra crossings. And not only just that, the people who are driving, sometimes, their behaviour, even when you thank them and say thank you and you cross the road, they need you to cross across that road within a millisecond so they can drive on. And, you see them, they get impatient, they just literally miss you as you're going past. So if you just, you're taking your time and you're wandering across, some of these guys are not happy. Likewise, when they used to place certain zebra crossings at the corner of a street, and sometimes you'd see, people would just come round from the corner, a driver, and they just walk straight across the road, no stopping, because you're supposed to stop. A pedestrian is supposed to stop at the zebra crossing, and is then supposed to put their foot into the road, partly into the road to indicate they want to cross the road. This was done in the 60s, in the 70s, partly in the 80s, I remember, and they don't do that now. No, they're not going to do that business. This is zebra crossing. I'm walking across, and I'm going to walk across with style, even if it causes, some little major accident. Whereas now, because there are lights there, people aren't going to cross that road until they're green, until it's red. When it's green, they're standing there because they're seeing traffic's moving, and so, which is good now. One of the problems that used to occur in Chelsea, Sloane Square in Chelsea, were the major accidents used to happen because of the pedestrian. The pedestrian crossings were absolutely ridiculous. I mean, there was literally every step you took, there was a pedestrian crossing. You couldn't look anywhere, but everywhere was a pedestrian crossing. And so it obviously agitated a lot of the drivers, because they'd be waiting there literally for ages, and tons of people are crossing and going across. And they, sometimes they would try to get through the little gap. And the way attitude of people, this is a pedestrian crossing, I'm walking across it. And then whatever, some format, it was commonplace for there to be an accident, because people had, look, it's Chelsea, Jesus, you're going to get the ultra arrogant down in Chelsea. So eventually all the pedestrian crossings over the years, thank God, have all gone, and they're all, they're just the odd one or two, but now most of them are lights, because people are very dumb in the UK, certainly in London, when it comes to crossing the road. You look at anywhere else in the world, well, not anywhere else in the world, but I mean, Japan, people stand at the traffic light And even when left, right, left, right, left, right, there's no traffic coming along. If that light is green, they ain't moving until that light turns red. And when a Westerner, an American or even British or whatever, they just cross the road. They just cross the road because they have to look right. There's no vehicle coming. They will cross the road. And this is the reason why this kind of thing instills, especially the young, the idea, well, hold on a minute. Why am I standing here when the road is clear? Even though they've been, traditionally they've been told, don't cross until the light changes to red. The red man. Oh, sorry, you can't say red man. The red, what do we call them? Red person that looks like a man. You can't change until that's changed. The Western people will give them bad ideas. Not all. Some will actually stand there and follow tradition, which is good. But the others, will walk across the road saying, well, why are you waiting? It's clear, you can move. So, whereas here, if it doesn't matter, you can see people that are running across the road when it's green because there's a gap, and they'll go across there. Not everybody, but generally the young and a few other people. But as I was driving up, going towards there anyway, I was starting to think this is all being done for the cyclists, because the further I went up, suddenly on my left-hand side, I saw something I hadn't seen on the major road of London. And that was, you had the pavement, then there was a cycle lane. The cycle lane continued, but this is the thing that I saw was unusual. You then saw painted boxes, and outside of that cycle lane, there were cars parked in those spaces. Oh no, sorry, I have seen something similar to this. Sorry, I have. Camden. Yeah, sorry, if you go near Camden, towards Camden, around that area, there's a very similar thing where there's a cycle lane and they've got little rubber bollards type of thing. They're little small bollards, and the cars park on the outside there. That's the first. Yeah, sorry, no, I have seen it before, but it's just a bit unusual with a major road in North London. I was seeing this, but the thing is, that's fine. It's not a problem. But you know what? As I was driving up, I'm seeing this major roadworks seem to have been done. I haven't been up that area literally for over a year and a half, 2 years. I used to go up that area a lot, but for various reasons, family issues, family who actually live up there, I haven't seen for a good 4 or 5 years. No, 6 years. A particular family member. So I haven't been up that area. But because Ponders End, this is where my mum was dropping off for church, I had to drive through. I hadn't been up there for ages. And as I came up towards Ponders End, where I was going to drop my mum off, suddenly I was hit with 2 roundabouts. Again, that used to be a traffic light, so people used to turn right at that point. And it used to be a bit of a now there were 2 roundabouts. And people, I nearly saw a few little hits as I was coming up, because people don't really know how to use roundabouts still. They just about know how to use them. If you come up to it from here in the UK, if a car's coming from your right, you give way before you can go, and all this kind of business. It's very simple. And the cars, as you're going through, the cars on your left need to give way to you on that roundabout if you're going straight on. But there were 2 sets of roundabouts. And I thought, what's the point of this? Why are you putting 2 sets of roundabouts? It's bad enough having one, and literally the other roundabout is just up in front of you. So there's 2 roundabouts. But this layout was being done specifically for cyclists. And I was thinking to myself, how much are the cyclists putting towards the cost of this improvements? Where is this money coming from? Now, if the cycling industry is paying towards this, all this work being done, because as you can see from these pictures, these are all accidents. Or, I mean, here's a protest here, or idiots lying in the road. This is the problem that I have with cyclists. Cyclists are a bunch of wankers. They demand things are paid for them. But what do I mean, look, if cyclists are actually, the cycling industry is paying towards these roads being improved, then I'll take back what I say. But if they're not paying a damn fucking penny towards the improvement of these roads, the widening or the narrowing or the provision of the cycle lanes, etc., etc., the question has to be asked, why not? Why are you not contributing to the road safety? Why is it that because obviously this money is coming out somewhere. It's either coming out of the council tax that we pay towards the road, or it's coming out of the motorists. If the government is paying for this road, for these improvements, that money is coming out primarily from the road tax. So if that is the case, and I'm correct, that's wrong. You see, cyclists need to start paying their way. I'm sick. I'm really, honestly. You see all these pictures here. Some of these are tragic. You can see some people have been killed. There's a guy who's obviously been killed. And it's terrible. We don't want to see anybody killed. Believe you me, nobody wants. This is not a joke. And so we need these roads improved for the safety of everybody in question. Okay. But the problem is, cyclists have this, while they have this sort of holier than thou attitude that, the reason why cyclists, here we have another protest. I think we've got a cyclist here who's been injured here. The reason why cyclists have not paid a bean, a shekel, a cent, a penny to the upkeeps of the roads in this country, and probably quite a few places in the West, is because they do not contribute to global warming. That's their argument. And they are kinder to the planet because they don't contribute anything. And because of that, they should not have to provide for the upkeep of the road because they're doing their bit to not, to keeping, the roads, in a condition, but they're not doing anything. I mean, the pavements are maintained by the councils. Okay. And so I've got my stupid phone that decides it wants to play silly buggers. I'm trying to switch it off. Right. I'm just putting it into emergency mode so that I don't have to disturb. Okay, so it's in emergency mode now. Right. Sorry about that. So the council maintains the pavements, and I'm sure that obviously comes out of your council tax and a few other things that you pay for, that you pay. I'm sure it comes out, and things like that. And the taxes that we pay, etc., etc. But the roads are maintained through the road tax. Because when you're driving on the road, it's a privilege to be driving on the road, and you pay for the use of that road. So when you're using that road, you've got to pay tax, you've got to pay your insurance in case you knock someone down, knock on a car, knock someone down. Why is it that cyclists are not paying a bean? They don't pay any insurance. Because a cyclist can knock into an old lady, a young woman who's pregnant, or a young child in the street. That bike can do you some serious damage if you're going at speed. Okay. I've come round the corner and a cyclist has just whizzed past me. It's like, whoa, you know, and he's gone across the road. There are times when cyclists are literally cycling on the pavement, you know, and yet they've got the bus lanes to cycle on. And they wrote, this is especially up in North London where I am in Stamford Hill. There's a big bus lane, and yet there's a massive pavement. Literally, you could get 3 cars on side by side on that pavement. It's really, really big, and yet cyclists will go on that pavement. There's people, kids walking on there, women in their prams, pregnant people, yeah, etc., etc. And why? Why are they not cycling in the bus lane? They're entitled to cycle there as well, even though they're not paying a bean towards it. This has got to stop. We need to start taxing cyclists. They need to start paying for insurance for their bikes. Okay, but they don't. They don't pay anything. The roads are maintained by the car driver, but the cyclist doesn't pay a bean. Motorcyclists are 2 wheels. Yes, they've got an engine. Yes, they can go up to speeds of 150 miles an hour. But the basic 50cc bike can do about 30 miles an hour. Still, you've got to pay road tax on that vehicle. Still, you've got to have insurance on that vehicle. Okay? Why is it that a motorized electric bike that is doing, I think it's 15 miles an hour, doesn't pay anything towards the upkeep of that vehicle? Because a guy who's cycling at 15 miles an hour, there are guys out there who can do 20 miles an hour, 17, 18, 20 miles an hour on their bike by pedaling. Okay, yeah, they don't have to pay a penny towards if they're going over 15 miles an hour. I think it's time now. We need to stop this nonsense. I think it's time now that the government has to look at, forcing the cyclists to pay for their maintenance. Look, you go this. I've been driving to Croydon to do a course for the last few weeks, early in the morning, and let me tell you something. You look to your left, and in the cycle lanes, you'll see about 15 cyclists, and it's go, what? Holy sweet! And then they're sitting in the traffic waiting to go. 15 cyclists or more, bunched up, and when the lights change, vroom, we all go piling, down that road. It's just like, it's madness. Why isn't the cyclist paying for the improvements, or whatever it is, the alterations, to the roads specifically for cyclists? Why are they not paying towards it? Because we see these deaths that are occurring, and it's tragic. But the problem is, a good proportion of those, I believe, and nobody's going to say anything because of the cyclists are the ones that are coming off the worst. But you see, people know that cyclists drive on the inside. People know the cyclists drive behind the vehicle, and you can't see them if you're a van sometimes. And they weave to the right, they weave to the left, they weave on the inside, They've done that. And when bikes have been sitting right next to a lorry at the traffic lights and he wants to go left, he can't see them sometimes. This is the tragedy that we've had. The roads need to be improved for cyclists, no two ways about it. But I think the cyclist now needs to start paying towards this. You know, if you're buying a £700 to £1,000 bike, I mean, there are some bikes, I've been into a bike shop and I've seen, you know, £2,500 bike that's got a bit of electrics in it, so it means they can move at a fairly good speed now. Why are they not paying towards the upkeep of this road? You know, I mean, people who go on the railways are paying £2 grand, £2.5 grand a year to use the railways, and that money is paying towards the upkeep of the railways, the carriage, or, you know, whatever it is. You can say what you like about the service. The point is, it is working. But a cyclist will pay £2 grand, and then he's bought this bike. It goes on the road, and he doesn't pay anything else. No tax, no insurance, no nothing. We need to start taxing cyclists. They need to start having number plates fitted on bikes, okay? And they need to be treated. They are a vehicle, okay? And they, you know, they transport a person from one place to another. They're not your legs. They're not like runners. These are vehicles that, you know, need to be taxed, and they need the bicyclists need to be insured. It's just got to happen there. And then that money that we collect from, because for instance, when a cyclist gets injured, you know, and you're cycling, you know, insurance has got all right, let's not say injured. You smack into a car and you scratch up the car badly. Who's going to pay for that? Because I don't know how it's done. How does a cyclist pay for the damage to a car? I think usually what happens is the motorist is probably so grateful that he hasn't killed the cyclist, and it probably wasn't his or her fault, that they just put the insurance or just get it paid because they're just so terrified of probably being accused that they were the ones who caused the accident in the first place, even though their vehicle came off the worst. So I think we need to start seriously. This is very important. Cyclists need to start contributing to the upkeep of the roads. They need to stop being insured. They need to do their bit. I'm tired of them saying that they're doing their bit by not contributing to global warming, etc., etc. Look, listen. If the states of the road, the reason why they're generally, well, they're getting better now. It's taken virtually 10 years, certainly in London, since the 2009, I think it's 2009, 2010, heavy snowfall that literally showed up the quality of the road. I mean, the amount of potholes that snowfall caused was unbelievable. And it's taken well over 5 to 6 years before they even started repairing many of these roads. I mean, it was just a lot of these roads are absolutely disgrace. So yeah, cyclists have got to start paying their way, and I think we need that. I think it's fairly simple. One, they need to take out insurance. So if you're someone who cycles regularly on the road, you take out insurance when you buy a new bicycle, whether it's a child. Certainly, I don't know. They would have to look at children up to a certain age, but certainly, you know, if you're 18 and above, insurance that will cover you know, if you hit a vehicle, then the vehicle, will be repaired by by the insurance company because the bicycles hit it or scratched it. The tax as well. If we tax the individual, that money will go towards the upkeep of the road. They got to do their contribution. I'm sorry. It's no point in saying, well, I've also got a car as well, so that pays for. No. There are people, their only mode of transport literally is their push bike. The whole family have got bikes, and they don't walk anywhere. They all go on push bikes wherever they're going to go, and they travel anywhere, go by train or by coach or whatever. So no, we've got to stop this nonsense. There is no more excuses. I'm tired of it. They need to pay for their upkeep. So we tax. Now, how do we make sure that the person who is all new bikes on the road have to be registered? And just like cars are registered, just like motorcycles are registered, they're exactly the same thing. I mean, if people start, rubbing off or taking off, what do you call it, number plates and stuff in the bike, I mean, they should be able to put maybe a little thing that can scan, either police or special task force will scan the bike. You won't know where it is in the bike, but it will be in the middle somewhat. It will be in the frame, and it will be scanned. Also, there should be a number plate on the bike, on the front and the back, and there should be throughout the bike the registration number of the bike, hidden inside, if possible, on the outside, so that if someone wants to rub these off, it's going to take them a long time, and the police should be able, or whoever it is, should be able to scan it, and this bike belongs to you. It can be done. We've got the technology. We can do it now, and they will have to pay road tax just like everybody else. So obviously the road tax on a bike would be, because in the past they said, the radio, I think the BBC or someone tried to collect, tax for the radio, weren't able to do it. Today, you can implement this tax on a push bike, and as long as, look, it should be £5 if it's a normal pedal bike, and £10 if it has electric assistance. If it's a very small petrol engine, that'll be 15, maybe £20 because it contributes, fuel to the air. But the point is that we need to start doing that, and then that way everybody who uses the road contributes and pays towards it, which is it's only fair. It's still cheaper than going on a bus and tube if you're a cyclist. And then that way, the insurance can be again fairly cheap. But then it's medical insurance. But if you have an accident, you've got to be paying at least, I don't know, again £5. So if you're a push bike, your person, £10 a month for the £5 for your road tax, £5 for insurance, or it could be cheaper. Either way, you need to contribute towards it. And if all the cyclists are contributing towards that, then maybe a little rebate could be given at the end of the year, for at least paying towards the and yes, you're contributing zero to global warming, and so a little bit of a rebate could come back, maybe a little bit of more and cheaper insurance, etc., etc. But we need to start doing this because it's not fair for this, the motorists to be paying everything. They're paying for everything. The cyclists not paid a bean. It's not fair. It's not right. And so, yeah, I was a bit shocked at the developments that seem to be going on. We also need to start seeing mini bridges. I think they have them in Holland. They go over major roads, and those bridges could be used not just by the cyclists but by pedestrians. You know, you could have a nice sort of micro type bridge. Cyclists can, it, it goes across so that the buses can get underneath. You know, it's double decker buses as well, and you could. I mean, it would be designed in such a way that cyclists could, go cycle up through, maybe, in a swirly way to get up, and then pedestrians would go up a little ramp, whatever easiest, whatever. But the point is, if we had built, I think I've seen a bridge, structures in, pedestrian bridge structures, and we need to see more of them. And then bicycles can use them, and people can use them. But again, the cyclist needs to contribute to this, and stop, and because that wouldn't need to be provided. That would need to be not developed by the paid for by the driver, but by the pedestrian and the push biker. So yeah, I just decided I need to talk about this because it's it is very annoying that we the drivers are always having to pay. Look at the cost of fuel. I mean, God, it's £1.29 now. One time it was down to £1, or just over £1.05 or something like that. Now it's going up to, actually, in some places I think it's £1.35, £1.49 or something like that. I mean, for me, before it was costing £50 to fill up the car, fill it up full. Now it's about 60, just over 60 odd quid to fill the car up. So it does make a difference. So I think the government, somebody needs to look into this. And nobody, see, because the problem is every time there's someone who gets killed on a bike, and in Bow in London, there was someone literally being killed. I think it was every week or every 2 weeks, someone was getting killed on that section until they sorted out the road, and and then because people start panicking, and worrying that they're going to be sued and all this kind of business, or they're going to be put into prison, so nobody bothers to ask the question, was it perhaps the cyclist who was at fault? No, because unfortunately they've died, maybe because of their own stupidity, to be blunt. But unfortunately, who gets blamed? The lorry driver, the bus driver, the coach driver, the van driver. Because there are times when, this isn't painting brush for all cyclists, but some cyclists will go through red lights. Some cyclists are weaving in and out of traffic, slowest traffic. 1 minute you see them on the right, next thing you see them on the left, next minute you see them in the middle. I mean, behind you. At times you don't know where they are. So, we need to look at the finances of financing cyclists. Of course, it's we don't want to discourage people. I'm sorry, but they need to start paying. Everybody's paying for the road, the pavements to be sorted out. That comes out of your pocket at some point or other. But cyclists don't seem to pay anything. So this needs to change. So anyway, I put my 2 pennies worth. If anybody finds this interesting, listen, please register. Or no, it says subscribe, isn't it? They say, yeah, subscribe. Can you subscribe to my channel? I'll be putting up contents as much as I possibly can every so often. I think this is a good subject to talk about, because there have been a few people that have been injured on, through bicycle cycling. Um, but I think the design and of the roads would be better if the cyclists contributed it to it as well, and then we can look at there'd be more money in the pot to really improve the roads. Maybe you could have even tunnels in the ground. Well, I don't know in the ground, but to really protect cyclists from the cars, on the road. But anyway, please subscribe. Let's try and get as many new people seeing my message. I'll be truly grateful. Thanks for listening. If you want to give a comment, then please do. Thanks very much.